Hey everyone, just wanted to make a quick video explaining the VBT dosing tool spreadsheet, which allows you to do some pretty cool stuff with profiling. But the purpose of this sheet is really on the dosing metrics, such as INOL and VINOL. So I'm going to spend most of my time explaining those two. And you'll notice that the first tab here is the relative intensity table, because this really gives a good overall picture of uh, the profile of a lift and the associated loads and velocities and just how everything shakes up from a relative intensity standpoint, as well as having all these dosing metrics here to the side if you want. A lot of people may not even use these, but they just may be interested in the relative intensity table. So let's start from scratch here. So we're saying, with this default data that's in here, please feel free to erase this. You can edit anything in the gray, anything in the white. Try to avoid touching that. So, you got name, exercise, safety bar, split squat. You've got the minimum velocity threshold, which is the slowest that you can actually move your heaviest weight. So 275 can move at a 0.32, and that's about it. And then you have loads and their associated velocities as you go. So as I type these in, I'm going to start getting a predicted 1 rep max from these data sets. So if we kind of put those back in, the heavier I go and the associated speeds, the more accurate it gets. And so I would encourage you guys to have quite a few data points here from a profile at the beginning of your cycle, or if you follow the 963 protocol in a separate sheet, then you get a really good representation of your load velocity profile with only 3 different loads: 40%, 60%, and 80%. So here on the right, it's just, okay, how do these shake up as it's predicted, or based off of your predicted max, which is 275, whereas these percentages are from your known 1 rep max. So some other things you can do as you start typing things in, you'll notice things change down here as they predict based off your velocity 1 rep max of 305. Again, it's important that I do these other sets here, because as I do, then this becomes more accurate. So now, if I'm just trying to create a set and rep scheme, or just see what kind of speed I should hit at what rep, at what load, I can quickly just refer to that. So on a set of 80%, which should be about 220 pounds, and I do 6 reps, then I can expect that 6th rep to be somewhere around 0.42. Whereas I could figure out, okay, what's the average of this whole set though of 6? I can just come over here to this gray space here, type in 80%, and I'm going to do 6. Then we're looking at, okay, I probably could get 8 if I'm, best case scenario, I'm feeling good that day. But it's starting to get into the very heavy range from a relative intensity standpoint, around rep 6. And so now it's a 90% effort. That's near maximum. So maybe not the best place to train. But this is just a really cool breakdown of the speed of the reps, which until I created this, I hadn't seen anything like it. I definitely wanted to visualize it for myself in terms of what kind of speeds I could be hitting based on relative intensity. So pretty cool feature here. If I typed in 10 reps, it still stops at 8. It's not going to show me all of the reps there. But either way, it'll kind of show it all the way down, because there's no way I should be able to get a 9th rep at 80% of my max. But here's the average speed. If I did do 3 or 5 or 6, you'll see that pop up there. And here in the top right, this is now where you can really type in a workout and the speeds associated for that workout. So for example, let's say we're going to do 70% of our max for 5 sets, all 5 reps. And then the speeds, let's just kind of use an example here. If I'm doing 70% of my max for 5, then I could expect to average a 0.68. So let's say that happens, 0.68, 0.68, all the way down for all these sets. Then I start getting some really interesting metrics here on the right of, if I actually moved it at 0.68, which is my average speed. In fact, you know what? I think we're supposed to be putting best speed here. So let's say 0.74. Oh, no, that's right. It's supposed to be average. Then I'm going to get the INOL scores from all the dosing, the estimated 1 rep max, the set velos, which is the speed of the whole set. I think what's going on here, I think I just need to make this 0. I'm just trying to figure out why the VINOL score is a little mismatched. That should be about the same, because that's what I'm expecting to hit it at. That might be something I need to reference and check later. I'll make sure that's fixed for you guys. So anyway, maybe if we hit this, it might shake up better. Still a little bit lower. Well, nonetheless, we'll get that fixed up, but just wanted to at least explain here on the top right, if you wanted to use some of the dosing metrics and get relative intensity, velocity, rep max, and things like that. It's all here based on each set on the INOL score. And I know this one is locked in for sure, so we'll move on to the mini dosing tool and the full dosing tool. And if you have no idea what INOL even refers to, there's a little guidelines tab here that kind of shows what these terms refer to and the associated INOL score of a set or of a whole workout, and how it's represented here as far as a dose is concerned. It even kind of correlates with RPE and reps in reserve and some of these other things. And here's also another kind of chart to show INOL scores. So anyway, just wanted to break this one down. Here's an actual case study of a cycle that I went through of 6 sets of 8 with these loads, these best velocities, these set velocities, and it's just basically profiling for me how the session goes. So if you guys are using velocity with a typical strength cycle and you know your max, you know your threshold, and then as you populate the data with the reps, the load, and the speeds that you're getting, it's going to give you a representation of the dose that took place and the VINOL score. Now this will make more sense as I explain it away from this table, which we'll get that one fixed. But if I'm moving it faster than expected, then I'm going to score less here than what it predicted my INOL score to be, because the INOL is basically doesn't assume fatigue. It just assumes that, all right, cool, you're doing 5 or 6 sets of 8, then it should be this brutal. But if you move it actually this fast, then you're going to get a more accurate representation of it really only scoring in the green, and not really being as difficult as you thought it was going to be, because fatigue really didn't take a toll on your set velocities. So all of this is kind of built in to compare INOL and VINOL with velocity in the mix. So it's, to me, more objective and accurate than RPE or RAR, because you can walk away from this workout and say, yeah, I could have done 10 reps or 11 reps, or guessing like, yeah, it was like a 7 out of 10 on the RPE scale. Whereas this will really, really show the effect that it had, and INOL is just so much more objective in my opinion, and it's an actual quantification rather than qualification of the dose, which is pretty good. So that's the whole point of this sheet. Hope it is useful to you. Here's another case of just kind of the full deal here with the dosing tabs also available with all the metrics. If you didn't find them as useful here in the relative intensity table, they're here in the full dosing tool. If you did find them useful and want to use them, they're there too as well. So I like the mini dosing tool, especially if I'm just doing 4 weeks of bench and I want to just kind of type it all in and look at my velocities. It's important to note that you want to put in your best speed of that whole set as well as the average speed of the whole set of 8 reps. And it'll give you a better representation of how things are trending, as well as the velocity rep max. So your velocity 1 rep max is going to be based on the best speed, whereas these set speeds are going to show kind of the dose effect. So hope you guys, again, find this useful. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll make sure that the VINOL scores is doing what it needs to do. And I think a lot of why it's showing is so low, 0.57, and the RPE being a little bit lower than some of these other things is just how well maybe we're moving some of these other speeds, and that's wise. But I'll take a look at it, make sure it's good. But shoot me an email if you got any questions. Happy to help you guys out.